Greetings, dear viewer. League of Legends has an important strategic system called the rune system. Runes are small perks that give you the ability to adapt your champion to the specific game that you are playing. But how do you choose the most optimal rune page? Professional players have practiced matchups thousands of times, forming an opinion about which rune is good in which scenario. But even their educated opinions are subject to human biases. Some players don't even care about the rune selection and simply select a recommended rune page by Riot, and then drink their Red Bull in peace. Let us consider a simple example. Ezreal needs to choose between these three runes. The correct choice here is Cut Down. This is because of Ezreal's capability of poking opponents, which is supported by the average damage dealt by the runes, which is the highest for Cut Down. But what if the runes in consideration aren't as one-dimensional as simply dealing more damage? How do you choose between having shorter cooldowns or having more movement speed in specific scenarios? We are going to solve this problem of selecting the runes using methods from artificial intelligence. Consider the following game with Nemesis on Yasuo. We are interested in finding out which of these teams is going to win the game and with what probability. The reason why this is important will come later, okay? So what we do is we train a deep neural network called a DNN using 10 million games of data. And the whole point is to take the information from the champion select, right here, transform it into numbers, then do some magic operations, which I won't get into now, and then we are going to get a result of win probability, okay? In this particular game, let's say the win probability was 42%. So how does this help us with the selection of runes? Here's where it gets really interesting. This is the rune page picked by Nemesis in this particular match. Let's consider one of the runes. We can choose any of the runes, but let's consider Overgrowth as an example. The system that we are building has a collection of matches where Overgrowth has been picked. And what we record is the outcome of the match. Here 0 corresponds to a loss, a 1 corresponds to a win, okay? So here's a loss and here's a win. And this particular game that we played over here, or rather Nemesis played, this resulted in a loss. So the recorded outcome is a 0. We remember that the initial win probability, so the win probability at champion select, was 42%. Now if we take the difference between these numbers, we get the delta of minus 0.42. And if we take the averages of each of these columns, what we have is the win rate, the win expectancy, which is simply the win rate that you are supposed to have if you don't have any other information except the information about the champions picked as well as the players piloting them. And by subtracting the win expectancy from the win rate, we get a number called the win probability added, or the win probability change, whatever you want to call it. And this number represents the effect of the rune, because we have removed every other effect except the effects of picking this particular rune. So let's put this theory into practice by considering the original example of selecting the last row of the precision tree on Ezreal. We have the average damage dealt here for each of these three runes, and then we have the win probability added, which we just explained the theory for. And what we notice is that the win probability added of Cut Down is 0.82 percentage points, which is significantly higher than both of the alternatives. Now, if we instead want to think about a more dynamic, or rather a more complex choice, such as the choice between Cosmic Insight and Approach Velocity on Shen, we see the same stats here. Actually, Cosmic Insight has a win probability added of 1.93 percentage points, while Approach Velocity has a win probability added of 1.73%. The problem here is that the sample size for Cosmic Insight is relatively low, as the win probability added converges around 5,000. But based on this, we could make the argument that both of these runes are good, and more data is needed to make good predictions. The general rune data is available for free on colossus.gg, so everyone can browse the overall power levels of runes. For example, I noticed that First Strike is the most powerful keystone across the board currently. If you want to support the development of these kinds of tools, then consider subscribing. Here's a discount code for 25% off your first 6 months. of Courses Premium. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.